Have you ever been in this situation? You send over a logo, it looks absolutely perfect on your screen, but then you get an email back saying it won't work for printing on a t-shirt or a sign or a coffee mug? It's a really common problem, and honestly, it can be pretty frustrating. But the good news is it has a simple solution. In the next few minutes, we're going to explain exactly which file type you need and, more importantly, why it's the key to making your brand look amazing on any product. So let's get right into it. Why does this happen? Well, the problem isn't your logo's design, not at all. The real culprit here is the type of file you're sending over. It really all comes down to the huge difference between a file that's made for screens, what we'll call a picture file, and a file that's built for production, which is a production file. So yeah, let's break down these two file types. Think of it this way. One is specifically made for looking at on screens, like your computer or phone. The other is what we, the printers and decorators, absolutely need to make your brand look sharp, clean, and professional on an actual physical product. Okay, here it is, the core difference. Raster images, like JPEGs and PNGs, they're made up of tons of tiny squares called pixels. Just think of them like a photograph. But vector images, like AI or EPS files, they're totally different. They're built from mathematical paths and curves. Think of these more like a blueprint. So one is a snapshot, but the other is a perfect set of instructions. Let's look a little closer at these raster images. Because they're made of a fixed number of pixels, they have a set resolution. Now, they look great at their original size, but just like with a photograph, if you try to zoom in or blow it up too much, well, you start to lose all that important detail. Now, this is where the magic of vector files comes in. Because they are based on those mathematical instructions and not pixels, they can be scaled to literally any size you can possibly imagine. We're talking from the tiny logo on a pen all the way up to a giant billboard, and they will never lose quality. The lines will always be perfectly crisp. And this right here brings us to the zoom test. When you take a raster image, a JPEG or a PNG, and try to make it bigger, all you're really doing is stretching out those original pixels. And the result? Well, the edges of your logo get fuzzy, the text looks all blocky, and you see that jagged stair-stepped effect. Yeah, it's just not a good look. So why is this so incredibly important in the real world? It's because when we take your design from that digital screen and put it onto a physical product, whether it's through screen printing, embroidery, or even laser engraving, the equipment we use needs that clean, scalable art to work with. It's non-negotiable. Starting with the wrong file type can cause some real headaches for your project. You risk getting a final product that looks blurry or soft. It can cause project delays while we have to stop and track down the right file, and you might even face extra art charges to have your logo completely recreated in the correct format. Nobody wants that. And look, you can see the difference in quality right here. It's night and day. The print result from a vector file is just so much better than what a JPEG or a PNG can deliver, especially when we need to change its size for your specific project. Bottom line, the right file directly leads to a much better product. But hey, enough about the problem. Let's talk about the solution. Let's see how we can guarantee your logo looks fantastic and completely professional every single time it's produced. This is exactly what we're looking for. You need to find a file that ends in .ai, .eps, or .svg. Now, a PDF can sometimes work, but only if it was originally saved from a vector program. If you can find and send us one of these files, your project is absolutely good to go. Okay, I want to make a quick clarification here because this is a common point of confusion. A lot of people think a PNG file is the answer because, hey, it can have a transparent background, right? And while that transparency is definitely helpful, a PNG is still a pixel-based raster image. It just doesn't solve that crucial resizing problem. All right, so you know what you need, but where on earth do you find it? Don't worry, you probably already have access to it. Here's a super simple guide to help you locate that perfect vector file. So your first stop should always be the person or agency that designed your logo. They will 100% have it. You can also check any shared company folders, maybe look for one labeled brand assets or marketing. Sometimes they're even available for download right on your company's website, maybe on a press page. And here's a final tip. If you've worked with a printer before, they might just have it saved from a past job. And to make this even easier for you, here is a simple, effective sentence you can literally copy and paste directly into an email to your designer or your marketing department. It clearly explains what you need and why you need it, which will help you get that right file back nice and fast. So the next time you kick off a project, just remember to ask for that vector file. Seriously, providing it right from the start is the single best way to make sure your brand looks just as sharp, professional, and impressive in the real world as it does on your screen.